The Galactic Empire's ship floated near the edge of the solar system. Just outside Pluto's orbit, it was large and silver, with long antennae and a glowing blue engine. Commander Blake Carlson stood on the bridge of the EFS Sentinel, watching. The intruder on the main screen, he wore a dark gray uniform, clean and sharp, his jaw was tight, and his hands rested behind his back. "They're ignoring our comms again," said his second-in-command, Lieutenant Mia Grant. "They received our last warning 2 hours ago." "They think we're bluffing," Blake replied quietly, "but we're not." The bridge was silent except for the soft hum of the ship's systems. Every crew member watched the screen as tension grew in the room. The Galactic Empire had been warned. President Lovra Myers had sent a final message to the Empire's ambassador just days ago. "Any ship crossing into Terran space will be treated as hostile," she had said, calm but firm. Now, the Empire's ship had crossed that line, slowly. "But clearly, prepare weapons," Blake ordered, his voice even. "Yes, sir," Mia replied, tapping on her console. The EFS Sentinel was not Earth's biggest ship, but it was fast, smart, and deadly. It carried railguns, EMP torpedoes, and a stealth system that could blind sensors. It was one of the first warships built after Earth joined the interstellar stage. Blake knew the Empire still saw Earth as a backwater world. They thought humans were too new, too weak, too emotional. But Earth had changed. The people were united. The defenses were strong, and the patience had run out. "They're charging a scan pulse," Mia warned, eyes wide. "Fire a warning shot," Blake said. A railgun on the side of the Sentinel fired, sending a slug across the Empire ship's path. It was a clean miss, but left no doubt it was intentional. The Empire ship paused. Its engines dimmed for a moment. "Now they're listening," Blake muttered. A voice came over the comms. "This is Commander Talvik of the Imperial cruiser Varen. We are on a peaceful mission. Do not interfere." Blake stepped forward and replied calmly, "This is Commander Blake Carlson of the EFS Sentinel. Your vessel has entered Terran space. This is your final chance to leave, or you will be disabled." There was a pause, then a chuckle. "You dare threaten an Imperial ship?" Talvik said. Blake didn't answer. He simply raised his hand and gave the signal. A low hum echoed through the Sentinel as a focused EMP blast surged forward. It struck the Varan's shield and slipped through, frying the engines. The Empire ship went dark and drifted, powerless. "They're disabled," Mia confirmed. "Send a drone with a message." "And get us out of here," Blake said. The drone zipped toward the disabled cruiser, carrying a message in clear Terran standard. "This is your last warning. Stay out of Terran space." Back on Earth, President Lovra Myers stood in front of the world's cameras. The message from Blake had reached her an hour ago. She had made her decision. She looked calm, standing tall in a navy suit, her brown hair tied back. Behind her, a flag of Earth waved gently, blue and green on a white field. "To all citizens of Earth and members of the galactic community," she said, her voice strong, "the Galactic Empire has violated our borders. Despite repeated warnings, we no longer see them as a peaceful neighbor." She paused, letting the words settle. "From this day forward, all vessels of the Galactic Empire are banned from entering Terran space. Any violation will be met with force." Some leaders had begged her to be softer, to give diplomacy another try, but she knew it was pointless. "We do not seek war," she added, "but we will protect our people, our space, and our sovereignty." The feed was broadcast across human colonies and outposts. It was translated into dozens of languages and sent to every known alien network. The reaction was mixed. Some aliens mocked Earth, calling them arrogant. Others, especially the smaller systems under Empire pressure, whispered hope in a dark chamber on the Empire's capital world. Admiral Sarek slammed his fist on the armrest of his throne-like chair. "They dare strike an Imperial ship?" He growled. Around him, other admirals stood still, unsure whether to speak. "Let them bark," Sarek said finally. "Soon they'll learn who rules this galaxy. But deep down, even he felt the sting. The humans had acted fast, clean, and with precision, he waved a hand at his officers. Send a probe ship through their border again. See what they do next. Above the moon. The F-Sentinel returned to station. Blake stepped off the ramp and looked at the stars. He knew this wasn't the end. Do you think they'll back off now? Mia asked, walking beside him. Blake shook his head. No, he said quietly. This was just the beginning. In the silence of space, Earth had drawn its line, and for the first time, the galaxy would have to decide what that meant. The chamber of the United Planetary Council buzzed with low voices and flashing lights. Dozens of species filled the curved seats, each watching the center podium where Earth's delegate now stood. Ambassador Helen Drake adjusted her collar, took a breath, and stepped forward. Her voice echoed across the chamber, calm but clear. Honored council members, Earth has made its position known, she said. We will no longer tolerate violations of our space by the Galactic Empire. A wave of murmurs passed through the seats, some amused, some alarmed. Ambassador Varnak of the Trevorans raised a spiny hand. Are you truly ready to challenge the Empire? He asked, his tone curious, not mocking. We are not declaring war, Helen answered. We are declaring boundaries. That word boundaries landed like thunder across the galaxy. Back on Earth, President Lara Myers signed the official ban, her pen pressing firmly on the paper. Behind her stood Defense Secretary Nolan Pierce and Admiral Rachel Donnelly, both serious. The moment this is transmitted, Nolan said, we become a target. We already were, Lara replied. Now we're just not pretending otherwise. The message was sent to every relay station, every embassy, and every trade route. The Terran Declaration spread like fire in every human-controlled colony. Soldiers stood on alert. Shields were charged, weapons loaded. No one wanted war, but no one would run either. On the edge of the Kuiper Belt, a sleek probe ship dropped. Out of warp, its hull shining in the faint starlight. It bore the Empire's insignia, a red eye on a black banner. The ship did not send a signal, did not ask for entry. It moved slowly, watching, testing Earth's resolve from a dark ridge behind Neptune's shadow. The EFS Nightshade waited, cloaked and silent. Lieutenant Sam Brooks held his breath as the Empire ship crossed the territorial line. Permission to engage? His voice came through the comm, soft but steady. Captain Ayla Quinn responded, her voice smooth as glass. Granted. The Nightshade uncloaked and fired a pair of precision ion darts. The probe's systems froze instantly, drifting dead in space. We'll send the wreck back to them, Ayla said. Message received. At the Empire's outpost near the Varan system, Admiral Sarek received the remains of the probe 3 days later. Burned, dented, tagged with a simple message. Do not return. He stared at it in silence, rage building behind his eyes. His officers waited, unsure if he'd shout or strike. Instead, he smiled coldly. Let's see how they handle our next move, he whispered. He sent out an encrypted command to one of the secret merchant ships, telling it to cross Earth's border quietly, wearing a false flag. In deep space, the disguised merchant ship moved toward Terran space, slow and careful, its transponder blinking as a peaceful civilian vessel. But Captain Maria Lane of the EFS, Valor, wasn't fooled. She leaned forward on her chair, watching the readings. Scan their cargo hold again, she ordered. Her tech officer frowned. It's shielded, but we're getting heat signatures. And movement. Imperial fighters, Maria said. They're trying to sneak a carrier past us. Without warning, the Valor spun into action, launching 4 drones and locking weapons. Disable, not destroy, Maria said. Let's give them back another gift. With quick bursts of plasma and precision targeting, the Valor cut out the ship's engines, catching it in a net of gravity hooks. The fighters hidden inside tried to launch but were instantly fried by an EMP wave. Cargo recovered, her crew reported. Message attached. Across the galaxy, news channels and information hubs exploded with the story. A once small blue planet now stood firm against the biggest power in known space. Some laughed, others watched in awe. The Galactic Empire had faced rebellions before, but never from humans, never like this, and humans didn't back down easily. In the secret war room under Earth's capital, President Myers watched the footage of the Valor's mission. She didn't smile, she didn't cheer, she simply nodded. "They'll come harder next time," Admiral Donnelly said, arms crossed. "Yes," Myers replied, "and we'll be ready." On another screen, early blueprints of Earth's newest warship shimmered. Project Dauntless, the first of its kind, was about to begin. In the dark between stars, the rules were changing. Earth wasn't the quiet child of the galaxy anymore. They had drawn the line, and now the Empire had to choose: respect it or bleed. Above the ice plains of Saturn's moon, Enceladus, the stars shimmered with unnatural light. That light came from the engines of two opposing ships, circling each other like predators. On one side, the EFS Sentinel, led by Commander Blake Carlson, sharp and ready. On the other, a new Empire scout frigate, sleek and fast, but clearly not peaceful. "They're not responding to hails," Lieutenant Mia Grant said, watching her console. "They're powering weapons," Blake nodded, his face calm but tense. "Then we speak in the only language they respect." The first clash began in silence, with railgun shots cutting across the void. The Sentinel dodged skillfully, returning fire in clean bursts. The Empire ship unleashed plasma lances, but Earth's defense grid adapted fast. In 5 minutes, the Empire frigate was wounded, engines flickering, weapons failing. "Should we finish them off?" Mia asked, her fingers hovering over the controls. "No," Blake said. "Let them crawl home and tell the others what happened." As the enemy ship turned away, its hull sparking, Blake sent a message across all frequencies. "This is Terran Space. This is your last warning." On Mars, Captain Maria Lane trained a new crew aboard the EFE's Valor, running drills that pushed everyone hard. She believed in preparation, and she knew something bigger was coming. That same day, a signal came. Inclassified level red. It showed a disguised Empire supply vessel slipping through the belt, flying a false Varnan flag. Maria narrowed her eyes. "They're testing how far they can go before we react." She led her fleet straight toward the intruder, flanked by 2 fast attack corvettes. The Empire ship tried to run, but it wasn't built for speed. "Weapons hot. Prepare for tractor snare," she ordered. With a precise volley of disabling shots, they froze the Empire ship in place. Then, using a newly developed gravity mesh, they reeled it in, slow and steady, inside the ship's cargo bay. They found racks of energy cells, crates of cloaking devices, and a squad of sleeping fighter drones. "This isn't a trader," Maria said, her voice cold. "This is an invasion kit," she reported to High Command immediately. Her words short but heavy. "They're not just probing our borders. They're preparing for something." Back on Earth, Defense Secretary Nolan Pierce listened to her report with a clenched jaw. He turned to Admiral Donnelly and said, "We need to show them what happens when they cross us." Donnelly didn't hesitate. "Authorize Operation Echo Strike," she said. In orbit over Europa, Operation Echo Strike launched silently. 3 Terran warships jumped into stealth mode, heading for a hidden Empire relay station located just outside Terran space. The EFS Warden, led by Captain Eric Doyle, moved like a shadow, blending into asteroid belts and radiation fields. Once in position, they used directed energy beams to slice through the station's main antenna, jamming all Empire signals in the area. Then they sent in cyberpods, uploading virus code into the station's core. Within seconds, the Empire's local network went dark, blind, and confused. "Mission complete," Eric said. "No casualties." Earth had made its point again. Meanwhile, at the edge of Terran space, a group of civilian ships from the small alien world of Telrani requested protection. Their people had been threatened by the Empire, and they wanted to defect. Ambassador Helen Drake met with their leaders in orbit above Earth. "We offer you sanctuary," she said. "Under one condition, Terran laws must be respected." The Telrani bowed, their silver-skinned leader holding out a glowing data cube. "And this is proof of the Empire's plans to surround your space with hidden bases." Earth's council studied the files and confirmed their worst fears. The Empire wasn't testing anymore. They were preparing for conquest. President Myers stood before the Terran Alliance again, this time with new allies at her side. "We are not alone," she said. "And we are not weak." Her words were broadcast through the stars, reaching colonies, ships, and distant watchers. She ended with a firm statement. "Earth will not bow, Earth will not break, and from this moment forward, we strike back when struck." The galaxy was watching, and Earth had drawn blood. Now, it was time to prepare for what would come next. The spaceport at Vega Colony bustled with cargo ships and merchant vessels. But one figure moved through the shadows unnoticed. He was dressed like a technician, his ID tag flawless, his movements confident. But he was not from Earth, and he wasn't here to repair anything. His name was Ryzek, an imperial agent trained in sabotage and infiltration. His mission was simple: gather intelligence on Earth's defense grid and cripple their outer colonies from within. He planted a small device under a power console, its lights blinking faintly before turning dark. To anyone else, it looked like a harmless power regulator, but inside it carried a data worm meant to transmit key files directly to a hidden Empire outpost orbiting a dead moon. Back on Earth, inside the military data vault, strange activity was detected. Engineer Alex Monroe, a quiet man known for his attention to detail, noticed a minor energy spike in the Vega relay logs. He stared at the screen, frowning. Why is Vega sending more data than it's receiving? He asked aloud, though no one answered. He double-checked the logs, ran a diagnostic, and found the signal hidden under harmless maintenance codes. His heart pounded. "Sir," he called to his superior, "I think we've got a leak." Within an hour, Admiral Donnelly was reviewing Alex's report with narrowed eyes. "He caught this himself?" she asked, impressed. "Yes, ma'am," said her aide. "No one else spotted it." Donnelly nodded slowly. "Give him full clearance and bring him in." Alex, now standing in a war room for the first time in his life, felt out of place, but determined. He pointed to the encrypted pathways on the holographic map. "If we follow these, we can trace the signal's endpoint," he said. Donnelly gave the order, and a stealth interceptor, the Eve's Phantom, was deployed from Luna Base. Its target, the Empire's hidden outpost in the shadow of Telros 4. A moon with no known life, the Phantom was fast, small, and silent, coated in adaptive armor that bent light around it. Commander Lena Hart guided it through asteroid fields and radiation storms without alerting a single sensor. When they reached the coordinates, they found a dark structure clinging to the moon's surface like a parasite. "Confirming unauthorized station," Lena whispered into comms. "Looks abandoned, but it's active." She ordered a data spike launched, and their systems began to hack into the station's network. Moments later, Earth's intel came flooding in, along with proof that the Empire had planted agents in multiple Terran colonies. President Myers met with her core team that evening, fury in her voice. "They sent spies while speaking peace," she said. "That's not just an insult. It's an act of war. Should we respond?" asked Nolan Pierce, leaning forward. "Yes," she said, "but not with ships this time." Back on Vega Colony, Agent Ryzek returned to his hidden pod buried under the hangar floor. He didn't know his signal had been traced, and he didn't know that 3 Terran agents had been watching him since dawn. When he opened his pod's hatch, he found a single blinking light, and then everything went dark. The trap had been set, and Earth had caught its first spy. In the days that followed, more agents were arrested. The Terran Intelligence Network, once small and reactive, began building an elite division called Shadow Watch. Alex Monroe, now a key member, helped develop countermeasures that exposed cloaked signals, hidden frequencies, and false identities. Earth wasn't just defending itself anymore. It was striking back, one silent move at a time. At the Empire's high command, Admiral Sarek slammed his hand against a datapad. "How are they finding our agents?" he shouted. His advisors didn't have an answer, only fear. For the first time, the Empire was losing the invisible war. Sarek ordered the deployment of a new plan in open test. A direct confrontation in the Neptune corridor, if Earth wanted to play spy games. The Empire would remind them what real power looked like. But Earth had already seen the enemy's tricks, and Earth was already building something that would change the rules completely. Project Dauntless had doubled its pace, and the weapon systems were being fitted under highest secrecy, in the cold, dark silence beyond Pluto. The War of Shadows had ended, now the fire would come. The Empire had had enough of silence. Admiral Sarek stood at the helm of the dreadnought Obsidian Fist, staring at the swirling data on his command screen. "Launch the strike on Neptune's corridor." He growled, "We'll remind Earth what true power means." His fleet moved swiftly. Dark ships sliding through space like shadows with teeth. 6 cruisers, 4 assault frigates, and a battleship shaped like a serrated blade approached the edge of Terran space without warning on Earth. Alarms screamed in the Terran Defense Network control room. Operators shouted over each other, hands flying across controls. "Multiple warp entries near Neptune," one officer shouted. "Empire fleet incoming, no ID, no signals." Fleet Admiral Rachel Donnelly arrived seconds later, her eyes cold and calculating. "Get me Carlson, Quinn, and Lane now," she ordered. Commander Blake Carlson was already aboard the EFS Sentinel, his crew at battle stations. "We expected this," he said calmly. "Let's show them what we've learned." From Luna Base, Captain Ayla Quinn launched in the Phantom, slipping into stealth mode to scout the enemy formation, and above Mars, Captain Maria Lane activated the Ephes Valor. Flanked by 2 rapid response corvettes, they all moved toward Neptune, Earth's line in the stars. The battle began with fire. The Empire opened with a long-range barrage, plasma bolts lighting up the void. But Earth had learned from every skirmish, every probe, every lie. The Sentinel dodged and weaved, launching counterbursts from its railguns. The Valor used pulse jump maneuvers to confuse targeting systems, and the Phantom, hidden and silent, began disabling the enemy's rear engines one by one. Empire ships tried to regroup, but the Terran fleet was coordinated, tight, like a fist. Made of lightning, on the Sentinel's bridge, Blake stood tall, watching as another Imperial cruiser exploded. "They expected us to scatter," Mia said beside him. "They didn't expect unity." "No," Blake replied. "They expected fear." A Terran drone swarm cut through the enemy flank, controlled by AI programmed with thousands of simulations. Each explosion was a message. Earth was not the same frightened world they once mocked. Captain Lane's Valor took a heavy hit on its starboard side, but she stayed calm. "Redirect power to inner shields, load imp charges," she ordered. Her ship rolled under the enemy line and fired a burst that disabled a massive frigate in one shot. "They want a war," she whispered. "We'll give them one they won't forget." Back on Earth, President Myers watched the battle unfold on the holomap. She said nothing, her fingers tight on the edge of the table. Nolan Pierce leaned over, voice low. "We should send reinforcements." "No," she said. "Let them handle it. The galaxy needs to see this." Admiral Sarak's eyes burned with disbelief aboard the Obsidian Fist. "Why are they not breaking?" He roared, "They're just humans." His officers had no answer. Sensors showed losses rising, their flank collapsing. Then came the final move. A formation of Terran ships converged in a tight triangle, forcing the Obsidian Fist into a kill zone. They fired simultaneously. 3 rail slugs pierced the dreadnought's shield, followed by a concentrated laser volley. The dreadnought shook, fires spreading across the decks. Admiral Sarek ordered retreat, shame boiling behind his eyes. "Get us out of here," he said through clenched teeth as the Empire fleet jumped away, leaving debris and silence behind. Earth's forces held formation, No cheers. No celebration, just focused breath and the echo of victory earned. Damage report, Blake asked quietly. Minor hull breaches, 0 casualties, Mia answered. And the Empire's gone. Good, he said. Let them remember this day. Later that night, news spread across the stars. Earth had won its first major engagement against the Empire's war fleet. Worlds that once ignored Earth now watched with new eyes, some in fear, others in admiration. And deep within a hidden orbital facility, Project Dauntless continued, piece by piece. Its armor was nearly complete, its core reactor humming like a sleeping storm. The message was clear: Earth would not be trampled, Earth would rise. The stars seemed quieter after the battle at Neptune. But the silence was not peace. It was the kind that came before a storm, a pause in the galaxy where everyone was holding their breath. News of Earth's victory traveled faster than any ship, carried by relays, traders, smugglers, and whispers. In dark corners of space, in the Terran system, a small mining planet raised Earth's flag beside its own in the Ulan archives. A scholar added a new page to the galactic records. Humanity has awakened at Earth's orbit. Traffic increased as envoys from neutral or oppressed systems requested meetings. Some brought gifts, others brought warnings, but all of them brought one thing: attention. President Laura Myers now met daily with ambassadors from species who once mocked or ignored Earth. Ambassador Drelkin of the Varuan Confederacy stood tall and feathery, his voice melodic. We watched your battle, he said. And we watched how you stood united, not out of power, but out of will. Lavra nodded politely. Will is all we've ever had, she said. But now we have teeth too. The Terran Alliance was born that week, signed aboard the orbital platform Horizon 1. It was not large: 6 worlds, 3 stations, and 2 nomadic fleets. But it was firm. Each member promised mutual defense, shared technology, and respect for sovereignty. For the first time, Earth was no longer alone. Fleet. Admiral Rachel Donnelly stood beside the leaders during the signing, her eyes always watching the stars beyond the window. We don't want a throne, she said quietly. We want a circle. In the Empire's High Council chamber, the mood had shifted. Sarek's voice was less loud now, more measured, but no less dangerous. They're gathering allies, he muttered, staring at a hologram of the Terran Alliance. They want to rewrite the order of the galaxy. His second-in-command, Vaktan, adjusted his gloves. We underestimated them, he said. We thought they'd be easy prey. Sarek clenched his jaw. Then we hit them before they grow stronger on Luna Base. Captain Ayla Quinn trained her crew in zero-G combat, knowing the next war would not be fought ship to ship alone. She watched the new Alliance officers, Telrani pilots, Varuan tacticians. Even a silent warrior from the Solari tribes learned to fight side by side. Strange, she said to her lieutenant, how quickly strangers become brothers when survival is shared on Earth. Young engineers built faster drones, stronger AI defenses, and portable shield units. In the underground bays of Antarctica, Project Dauntless moved toward completion, its massive frame humming with power. No ship in human history had been given this much focus, this much fear, or this much hope. It was not just a warship, it was a signal. Aboard the Eve Sentinel, Commander Blake Carlson met with Captain Maria Lane in orbit over Titan. They won't wait long, Maria said, looking over battle reports. No, Blake replied, but next time we won't be alone. Their ships were being outfitted with Alliance tech energy dampeners from the Varuan, long-range disruptors from the Solari, and navigation enhancers from the Telrani. Human systems had adapted quickly, faster than anyone expected. Give humans something impossible, Blake said, and we make it fly. Elsewhere in the galaxy, a meeting took place far from any charted route. A cluster of independent systems, traders, smugglers, and exiled leaders gathered in a hollow asteroid. They argued, shouted, and drank until one voice silenced the room. A woman stepped forward, human by blood, but alien in appearance, her body altered by deep space travel and strange medicines. They call themselves the Terran Alliance now, she said, and they just broke the Empire's nose. What do you suggest? Someone asked, wary. We bet on them, she said, smiling. Because I've seen what happens when humans are cornered, on the edge of Sol. A quiet signal pulsed from an Empire scout ship. It recorded every movement, every ship, every change in defense when it turned to leave. The HFS Phantom appeared behind it like a shadow. With a single flash of light, the ship was gone. Earth's message was clear: watch all you want, but don't blink, because the next time the Empire came knocking, they would not find the same Earth they once knew. They would find a world of warriors, builders and friends, a world that had finally become what it was meant to be, ready. The Empire didn't send a fleet this time. They sent a message. It came in the form of a black data prism, dropped by a disguised probe near Jupiter's orbit. The EF's Valor retrieved it and sent it to Earth under maximum encryption. President Myers held it in her hand as it flickered to life, casting a red glow across the council chamber. Admiral Sarek's voice echoed from it, calm but sharp like a blade. You have crossed too many lines, Earth, he said. You hide behind your alliance, but you forget what real power is. He leaned forward in the projection, eyes hard. You have one cycle to disband your alliance, surrender your military stations, and allow imperial advisors to govern your outer colonies. A pause, then the final words, refuse, and we will bring a force your world has never seen. The projection ended, leaving silence around the table. Earth's leaders looked at one another, but it was Admiral Donnelly who broke the silence. They're not bluffing, she said. No, Myers agreed. But neither are we. Preparations began immediately. The Terran Defense Fleet was mobilized in full, pulling reserve ships out of dock, rerouting power grids, and transferring civilians from frontier posts to secure zones. All across the Terran Alliance, allied ships gathered, docking at Earth's orbital rings, refueling, rearming, readying for what might be the largest battle in human history. On Luna Base, the final systems were installed aboard the Dauntless, a massive warship of sharp angles and glowing plates. It was the first of its kind, larger than a city, quieter than a whisper, stronger than anything Earth had ever built. Project Dauntless was no longer a secret. It was Earth's answer, and soon it would speak. Commander Blake Carlson received his orders in silence, reading them in his quarters. Aboard the Sentinel, he closed the file and looked out the viewport, stars glittering like warnings. He activated the intercom. Crew of the Sentinel, this is your commander, he said. We are being deployed to Jupiter orbit to form a defensive wall. If this is the end, let it be one we write ourselves. The crew responded not with cheers, but with calm readiness. They had trained for this moment since Mars, and now it had come in the main war room under the Andes Mountains. President Myers stood at the center of a giant holomap, ships blinking in motion. She looked at Admiral Donnelly, who simply nodded. All fleets in position. She confirmed, from Mercury's orbit to Saturn's rings, every major point was covered. The Terran Alliance didn't just stand beside Earth, they stood in front of it. Then came the Empire. First one dreadnought, then 3, then 5 carriers. Assault cruisers, weapons barges, and Hunter-class frigates poured into the edge of Sol space. The enemy armada was massive. Unlike anything Earth had faced before, they didn't speak, didn't transmit warnings or requests. They came to crush. Captain Maria Lane stood aboard the Valor, now stationed near the asteroid belt. She scanned the enemy formations and smiled. Grimly, same tactics, bigger guns, she said. They've learned nothing. Let's teach them again. Said her weapons officer. From behind the rings of Saturn, Captain Ayla Quinn's Phantom moved into attack position, flanking the far edges of the enemy's rear line. Cloaked, silent, and deadly, they began marking targets for the fleet's long-range artillery. Blake Carlson led the front line, his ship one of the first in the Empire's path. But this time, He wasn't holding the line alone. To his left flew the Terran cruiser Silver Tide. And to his right, the Solari warbird Fire Needle. "This is Earth Fleet Command," he said across the wide band. "You are not welcome here." He didn't expect a reply. And none came. Then the sky exploded. The Empire launched the first strike. A wall of energy beams meant to tear through the front line. But Earth's shield arrays held, shimmering blue as they absorbed and scattered the blasts. Terran ships returned fire, their weapons guided by new alien tech and old human instinct. Rail slugs tore through the void, and drone clouds moved like swarms of metal bees. All around the system, war had begun, but Earth had one more card to play. Inside the Dauntless, final. Checks were complete. Admiral Donnelly stood at the helm, her hand hovering over the command sphere. "Open the bay doors," she said. "It's time." The Dauntless slid into space, its engines lighting up the dark like a new star. Its arrival shifted everything. Enemy ships paused, sensors screamed, captains hesitated. The Empire had come to destroy a world. But now they faced a force that was more than war. It was Earth's answer to every threat, every insult, every loss. And it had just arrived. The Dauntless glided into the battlefield like a silent god. Its frame was longer than any dreadnought, forged from neutron thread alloys and cloaked in midnight armor. It made no sound, but every scanner across the Empire's fleet screamed. In warning, inside, Admiral Rachel Donnelly stood at the helm, her hands resting lightly on the control sphere. She didn't raise her voice, didn't give a speech. She simply said, "Begin." The first shot from the Dauntless wasn't a missile, but a pulse. A wave of energy rippled outward, crashing through space like a silent tsunami. Empire shields flickered and died. Weapons powered down. Communications collapsed. "EMP pulse effective," her chief engineer reported. 25% of their front line is dark. "Target the dreadnoughts," Rachel ordered. Twin particle lances launched from the ship's front cannons, glowing like fire from the heart of a star. One Empire ship exploded instantly. The second spun out of formation, venting plasma and crew. The battlefield shifted. Commander Blake Carlson watched from the Sentinel as the Dauntless carved through the enemy ranks. "It's like watching a legend in motion," Mia whispered beside him. Blake nodded. "Let's not waste the opportunity," he said. "Push forward." The Terran fleet surged, cutting deeper into the Empire line, no longer defending, now hunting. Captain Ayla Quinn's Phantom decloaked behind two enemy cruisers and fired twin torpedoes into their engines. The resulting blast lit up space like a sunrise. The Telrani and Solari ships moved in perfect sync with the humans, sharing signals and covering each other's flanks. Every motion of the Alliance was tight, practiced, unified. In contrast, the Empire's fleet was faltering, their formations broken, their dreadnoughts retreating into confusion. On board the Empire flagship, Obsidian Fist, Admiral Sarek gripped the railing, shaking with fury. "Destroy that ship," he roared, pointing toward the Dauntless. His remaining cruisers launched a focused assault, sending hundreds of plasma bolts toward the rising Titan. The Dauntless absorbed the hits without flinching, its adaptive shielding bending with every impact. "Return fire," Rachel said softly. The Dauntless fired a barrage from its ventral guns, a storm of smart slugs and magnetic bursts. Half the enemy squadron vanished in under 20 seconds. On Earth, people watched from every screen, every station, every colony. Children held their breath, workers paused at terminals, soldiers gripped rifles tighter. The Dauntless wasn't just a ship, it was hope made real. With the Empire's center collapsing, Captain Maria Lane pushed her fleet through the opening. "Break their line," she shouted. "Don't let them regroup." Her ships fired in tight arcs, forcing the remaining Empire vessels into a panicked retreat. But as the Dauntless pressed forward, the Obsidian Fist made one last move. It turned its front toward Earth, charging its main cannon, a weapon designed to fire at planetary range. "They're going to fire on the planet," Rachel's tactical officer warned. "ETA, 30 seconds. Rachel didn't hesitate. Execute protocol Hammerfall. A section of the Dauntless opened near its spine, revealing a focused energy lance too powerful to fire without internal bracing. Target locked, came the call. Release, Rachel said. The shot tore through space like a judgment. A beam so bright it left afterimages in the void. It struck the obsidian fist directly through the center, splitting the dreadnought in half. Flames erupted from its core. Then it vanished in a silent bloom of fire and metal. Admiral Sarek's final transmission never came. The rest of the Empire's fleet broke and fled, ships warping away in all directions, leaving behind only debris and silence. Terran ships held position, not chasing, not cheering, just watching as the last shadow passed. On Earth, the people wept, not from fear, but from pride. President Myers stepped forward on the global broadcast, her voice steady. Today, she said, we did not win because we had the biggest fleet or the oldest name. She paused. We won because we stood together, human and alien, soldier and citizen. With one voice, one will, across the galaxy, the message was clear. Earth was no longer the newcomer, the outlier, or the target. Earth was a power to be reckoned with, and the Terran Alliance was here to stay. Back on the Dauntless, Admiral Donnelly looked out at the stars. She didn't speak, didn't smile. She just whispered to herself, we warned them,